All right, picture this. It's early morning, May 11th, 2016. District Heights, Maryland. Most people are still tucked in bed, you know? But just after 4:20 a.m., everything changes in an instant. Police get a call, shots fired, that's all anyone really hears at first, out near Aztec Drive and Gateway Boulevard. And right there, a car has crashed into a tree. It's a jarring scene. Inside that car, they find Samuel Page. He's only 27, shot, pronounced dead right there. It stops you, or thinking how fast things unravel. He probably never saw it coming. But the story doesn't even end at that twisted metal and flashing lights. A block away on Halleck Street, police find another young man, 26-year-old Kevin Muse. He's shot too, taken to the hospital, but he doesn't make it. The sense that comes over the area, it's like a wave. Shock, confusion, then fear. Police work quickly, and one thing is clear. They don't think this is some random thing. No, investigators are talking about a targeted attack. A robbery gone lethal. I always get hung up right here. Because targeted robbery. What does that even really mean, you know? Was it planned? Was it some long feud? Or just a mistake that should have never happened? Here's something that stands out. Law enforcement says there was a third person in the car. Not a lot has been revealed about them, but by every account, they survived. They made it out alive from whatever happened, whatever chaos exploded in those early morning minutes. There's got to be a story there, but it's one of the many pieces that still don't fit. So many gaps. I mean, we know police responded within minutes, gunshots just after 4:20 a.m., car already wrecked, 2 men down, but the why and the who is so much murkier than we'd ever want. When we talk about these cases, it's really easy to get hung up on just the facts. The headlines, the police statements, the cold clinical details about time and place. But sometimes I gotta pause and just think about the lives, the people at the heart of it. Samuel Page, Kevin Muse, they weren't just names. Kevin, his friends called him a real good guy, never caused any trouble. Lately, I keep hearing from folks who say he just had a kid. I mean, that just guts me, 'cause there's a new father missing out on his own story, and a child growing up with that empty space where their dad should be. The grief. God, you could feel it in the air. On that morning, loved ones are on the ground, sobbing, holding on to each other just to stand up. This isn't the kind of wound that fades, and it doesn't just touch 2 families. It ripples through the whole neighborhood. I saw it firsthand. Not in District Heights, but up in Baltimore a while back. Talking to a mom who had just lost her son in another case that, frankly, felt just like this. That conversation. She told me there were mornings she couldn't even roll out of bed. But sometimes she'd look outside and see neighbors leaving flowers, strangers watching over her house. There's a paralysis, but also this drive to do something, to find answers not just for yourself, but for your whole block. Law enforcement tries to tap into that need for answers. They put out the appeals, $25,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest and indictment. That's not nothing, but after 7-8 years, the phone lines haven't blown up the way folks hoped. Still, you get these vigils, gatherings near the scene, people lighting candles, saying names out loud so they don't vanish. I think about how gathering can help. A reminder that silence isn't acceptance. But the question I always wrestle with every time is why it's so hard to break that silence. Why do people know things and still hang back? Is it fear? Is it mistrust? I don't always have answers, but I get why the questions haunt families for so long. So let's talk about what we actually know now, all these years later. Police have said from the very start they didn't think this was just a random crime. Something about the way things unfolded, the connections between folks, law enforcement's been clear on that. Robbery was the motive, but it wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thing, not by their read. What gets me is, despite all that, there's still no suspect named. No charges filed, nothing public about who actually pulled the trigger or why. The only tools left for investigators, it seems, are community tips, crime solvers' hotlines, that whole anonymous thing. They've banged that drum. 1-866-411-TIPS. The website, the numbers on the flyers. I'm not saying it's ineffective, but it's clear that something is still missing. The police even floated early on that they believed they knew who was responsible. But here we are, no arrests. Sometimes I wonder what keeps a case like Samuel Page's from moving forward. Lack of evidence, witnesses too scared, maybe, or maybe they just don't trust the system, especially after so long. And that gets at something bigger, right? These cases, Samuel, Kevin, so many others, they hit a wall unless someone steps up. The police do what they can, but at a certain point, it's the community, or even listeners like you, who might hold the missing piece. Maybe you know something. Maybe you don't realize it's important. But these stories, they don't close themselves. They need courage, and sometimes that means a phone call, a tip, or just keeping the memories alive so these men aren't lost in the noise. That's it for today's episode. The questions remain, and the search continues, because every lost soul deserves answers, and every story deserves to be heard. What are your thoughts? What do you believe happened? Share your voice, because sometimes the smallest detail can spark the biggest breakthrough. I'm Sammy, and this is Beyond the Silence, Whispers Across America. Thank you for listening, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.